4 out of 5 Soviet aircraft, tanks and trucks used in World War II ran on fuel produced in Baku refineries from oil extracted in the Baku oil fields. From the start of Operation Barbarossa, when German troops invaded the Soviet Union in June of 1941, until the end of the war, Azerbaijan produced 75 million tons of crude oil, 80% of the Soviet Union's petrol, and 96% of its lubricants. In 1942, Germany's Case Blue plan was aimed at capturing oil from the Caucasus region of the Soviet Union. However, German military planners apparently never discussed in detail the important question of how the Caucasus oil would be transported to Germany. German forces managed to capture the Maikop oil field in August of 1942, and they could have destroyed Baku. With a Baku Blitz or a Baku air raid, the Luftwaffe could have dealt the Soviet economy a major blow, from which it would have taken at least several months to recover. The Luftwaffe still possessed a strong bomber force and airfields within striking range, and the Soviet Air Force presence in the Caucasus region was relatively weak. General Oberst Wolfram von Richthofen's Luftflotte or Air Fleet 4 had 2 air corps in the southern sector of the Soviet front. General Kurt Flugbeile's Fliegerkorps or Air Corps 4 and General Martin Feibig's Air Corps 8. Since late July of 1942, following Hitler's decision to split the main eastern offensive into 2 simultaneous campaigns, Richthofen had deployed 1 air corps in support of each army group. Fugbeil's Air Corps supported the German drive to the Caucasus oil fields, while Feibig's Air Corps supported the German drive to Stalingrad, spearheaded by the 6th Army. Richthofen regretted splitting his air assets in this manner, but believed that he could still create a significant Schwerpunkt or a point of main effort in each of the combat zones. In any event, he could swap units back and forth between Stalingrad and the Caucasus. In August of 1942, Richthofen's air fleet had 247 medium bombers, mainly Heinkel 111s and Junkers 88s, but only 143 of them were operational. The airfield near the city of Armavir was the largest in the region. Armavir was occupied by the German army between August of 1942 until January of 1943. German medium bombers had a range of approximately 2,000 kilometers, and the distance between Baku and Armavir was 900 kilometers. So the Junkers 88s and Heinkel 111s could reach Baku from Armavir, but only by the most direct route to keep the entire 2-way flights within the range. This would have made their flight path predictable, thereby creating greater risks of losses to flak curtains and interception by Soviet fighters. The Baku Air Defense Army was formed on the decree of the State Defense Committee in April of 1942. Previously known as the Baku Air Defense Corps, its main objective became sheltering the Baku oil fields from German air raids. This air defense army had 7 anti-aircraft regiments, 1 anti-aircraft machine gun regiment, a searchlight regiment, a barrage balloon regiment, and some other units. It means that a daytime raid would have been very difficult for the Luftwaffe. But since the Soviet Union did not possess night fighters like the Royal Air Force and only some very primitive radar equipment, a nighttime raid series would have been possible. To make this scenario even more realistic, the Luftwaffe could have used new types of bombs during these raids, which became available for the German Air Force in July of 1942. The Flamm C-250, also known as the oil bomb, was an incendiary bomb. It had a thin walled body filled with a mixture of 30% gasoline and 70% raw oil. There was an axial compartment at the rear of the body, housing a bursting high explosive charge. These bombs were intended for surprise attack on living targets, artillery positions, buildings, and easily inflammable objects like an oil field. A single bomb produced flame of 20-meter diameter, burning for 10 seconds. There was also the Brand C-250 bomb, filled with liquid incendiary composition and a number of glass containers filled with phosphorus acting as igniter. The phosphorus was carried in glass bottles that were designed to break on impact and mix with the main filling. The bomb then split open, scattering the contents, which ignited spontaneously over an area of 50 meters. The night raids using a large number of Flamm 250 and Brand 250 bombs could literally destroy the entire Baku oil region. After all, the combined production of both Maikop and Grozny only amounted to around 10% of the Soviet Union's total output. Maikop's capture doubtlessly annoyed the Soviet leadership, but with Baku's immense output left untouched, this loss was certainly not going to plunge the Soviet military and civilian economics into a period of hardship. In fact, the threat of German advance to Baku had already done far more damage. Before the German forces even entered the Caucasus region, the threat had caused the evacuation of much machinery and the closure of many wells. The German entry into the Caucasus then placed great strains on Soviet logistical capabilities, having made necessary huge detours. Oil had to travel across the Caspian Sea to Krasnovodsk and up through Turkmenia to Orenburg in order to arrive back in the nation's interior. A lack of vessels, trains, and storage facilities exacerbated these problems. Thus, the loss of Maikop paled into insignificance compared of these difficulties. Only Baku's loss or heavy damage could have crippled the Soviet Union, and the German military high command had wasted this opportunity in the summer of 1942.